Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the case may be. Thank you for joining us on another Sunday evening and tuning in to another episode of Redfellas. Your Redfellas that seems like it's not a pleasant place to be tonight, but we will try our best to give you some therapy. Aha, the main man is here himself. Just when we were panicking, we may not have the head therapist.
Panic over, guys. Panic over. All is well.
Yeah, so look, thank you very much for tuning in. We will be going through quite a variety of topics and subjects today. As you guys may be aware or not aware, if you haven't seen the post-match reaction, me and Cav were on that last night. So we're not going to be going into the match in terms of incident per incident. There may be incidents that we want to speak upon in relation to players and formations. But we're going to speak about a whole variety of things and see where we're at and try to make our lives, what's the word I'm looking for? Look, bearable at the moment because right now my weekend has been horrible. And I know a lot of you are in here to laugh at us, mock us. And it's all part of the game. Yeah, bring it on. Yeah, bring on. It's not a problem. And those are you here for therapy, then, this is probably the show for therapy. Of course, when we're in a situation like this, we need a whole host of people and variety and opinions to talk about, argue. I mean, Steve, if we let people know, if we had a screenshots of the arguments me and Sam just had in our WhatsApp groups, I wish we could have put that in a show. It would have been a sight for sore eyes, let me tell you that. But it is what it is. You'll recognize most of the faces. Conroy, Steve's here, Cavs are regular as well. And I've got a personal friend coming on today because I thought if I'm going to talk about the weekend I've had, which includes Liverpool losing to the bottom team in the Premier League and Pakistan losing to India in the opening game of the World Cup, I've got to bring a fellow Pakistani and Liverpool supporter with me. So welcome, Saj, to Redfellas.
No, thank you very much, man. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, I think it'll be both of us will be crying together in a corner today, man.
Exactly. I thought if I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna cry with a mate. And hopefully we can help each other, and hopefully these guys can make us feel a little bit better. Because my God, we've had the weekend of weekends, rough-wise. We are just under 100 subscribers away from 20k people. If you haven't subscribed, please feel free to subscribe. Like, share, all of that good stuff before we get moving. Before we do get moving, of course, Conroy's reminded me, as he always does, I nearly forgot. Of course, this show is sponsored by the very, where is it? There we go. yourfutcard.com. Guys, you already know by now. If you want your cards made, these are the people to go to. All sorts of different styles, background. You can get classic cards. You can get ones for your daughter, your niece, your nephews. You can get prints made. You can get Darwin Núñez prints made. Or if you want, you can get, what's his name? Who scored against us? Taiwu. How do you say his name?
Is it Awanini? Is that the right way?
You can get Awanini Taiwu cards made. You can get anything you want. All you got to do is just go there, select your designs, variety of backgrounds, sizes, get any skills and stats that you feel as though you deserve. Go check them out. Your FUT card. If you're into banners, Saj, I know you go home and away. I think you guys better order a banner as well. Actually, you need to get one as well. The Keithley Reds or something along those lines. It'll be brilliant. Bradford Boys, or Mohamed Salah stands, or anything you want. Go check these guys out. And on top of everything else, you type in Redfellas, you get a 15% discount. If none of that made sense, go onto their website and say Grizz didn't make sense because he had a weekend from hell. He was talking utter shit. Ask them anything you want. They will answer your questions. They're a brilliant organization and set up to deal with. Very simple, very effective, very efficient, and you get 15% discount when you use Redfellas. Guys, fireworks going off, but there was no fireworks at the Forest Ground. Well, there were, but not in terms of Liverpool. Conroy, we spoke about momentum. We spoke about 3 wins in a row in the league and what difference it will make to the mood, to the league table. everything went to shit instead.
Yep, that's pretty much it. I did say, when did we chat? Was it Thursday? I think it was. No, it was just after the West Ham game, and I did say, let's just take it game by game now because of other teams. It was quite a quick access to get back in the top four, just to the way it kind of landed with the fixtures. However, I was like, let's take it game by game. Man City, it worked well, but Man City give you space. It's not rocket science to work out Liverpool do well when there's space. I think we played Leeds a couple of years ago, and that was quite obvious we're going to do well against teams like that. West Ham get away with one. Alisson saves a penalty, so we get away with that. Going into this game, I'm thinking, you know what, just get a win. But yeah, that momentum, that game by game, just getting through, winning ugly. It just 12:30 kickoff, start of the weekend, all that optimism goes out the window. And I don't know about you guys, I kind of, within the first half, maybe first 30 minutes, 20 minutes, I felt like we're doing okay. But then I just felt the lack of cutting edge quite early alarmed me in that game. I don't want to go too much into that because I'm not going to break it down, Grizz, but that's how I kind of felt from the offset. Just felt like it was just, yeah, felt like that was, how I mentioned the games you need a rescue because it's not going too well. When you've got a Nunez or someone like that, they're ideal for that. Obviously, that wasn't available yesterday, but yeah, 2 steps forward. Was it 1 step forward, 2 steps back? That's the best way I would define our season at the moment.
Saj, you obviously went to the game. Traveling up, it's not that far for you guys. A couple of hours. Coming down, I guess. Yeah, sorry. I always talk from my point of view. I mean, going up there on the morning, 12:30 kickoff, a lot of dedication needed first and foremost, but it's worth it because you think to yourself, this could be another kickstart, another game where the momentum's with us. We should be fine. It's Nottingham Forest, 3 wins in a row. A couple of awkward games for the teams around us in the weekend in terms of the Premier League. We just need to make sure by hook or by crook, by 3 points. You probably was very confident on the way up there, right?
Yeah, very confident going into the game, coming back off 2 clean sheets, 2 wins. Nottingham Forest aside, but bottom of the table. You go in thinking confidence is up. The players look like they're G'd up and we're ready to go for this game. And especially like you just mentioned, with the sides up, the Newcastle playing Spurs, Arsenal had a difficult. Well, Arsenal at Southampton, and then United at Chelsea. So it was the writing was ready for the perfect weekend in store for us. We get the 3 points very early. We can relax, watch their games, and hopefully make up the ground that we lost in the season. Well, obviously it was completely the opposite.
Completely the opposite, mate. Cav, we obviously done a post-match reaction, which was very raw. It's all about emotion. I don't know how you feel. Is it 24 hours later or maybe just over? Mm-hmm. Normally heads are calmer and not as hot, maybe. But just how do you feel now, sort of 24 hours later? I know it was a cracking show. I mean, people were laughing at us laughing. But what else could we have done, right? Otherwise, we would have been crying. So we were just laughing our way through the show. I'm not going to lie. I feel a bit different now. There's no laughing. There's no smiling. If I be rude to you guys, forgive me today. I'm very snappy. I'm very ratty. I'm very agitated. The guys in my WhatsApp group will know, Connor and Steve. Yes, I know. I was very ratty. I was very snappy.
No, I just found it funny. I would go away to make a cup of tea, and there'd be like 50 messages, in WhatsApp. It was just non-stop.
Yeah. So I haven't calmed down. In a way, I have though. But how do you feel now?
No, I feel calm actually. I feel like I'm ready to break down the game and understand the reasons why. We did the post match, as you say, and it was quite a lot of emotions pouring out, but I'm not apologetic for that. That's how we were made to feel after watching that performance. And this is what football's about. You can't have all the highs without the lows. And they were just, raw emotions. And we sort of spoke on how we felt about the game, because obviously it was massively disappointing. But I feel, like I say, time's a bit of a healer. I've had time to reflect on it a little bit, and I'm ready to break down the reasons why that happened, as we'll get onto.
Absolutely. Steve, I tweeted earlier when I was promoting the show. on my Twitters. And some people came back and bit at me and said, it's not. I called it, but I put a question mark. Luckily, cleverly, I put a question mark at the end of it. And I questioned it. Was it the worst result under Klopp's tenure? Any worse? Discuss, guys. Hopefully you have got any worse. If you haven't, let me know if it is. Or because the way I look at it is this Forest team, the way I looked at it in terms of one of the worst is the stage and development of this team, Liverpool Football Club, and where we're at and what we're aspiring to do and what we want to do and our expectations now, as opposed to previous examples you may give or you may not give. Also taking into consideration, this Nottingham Forest team is shite, absolutely shite. Also taking into consideration, there's no excuse for our rotational players, injuries, new players not being, because they've got a whole team that's brand new. Like they've literally bought 8-9 players. Just all of these things made me think and suggest that is, for me, if not the worst, because some people have come out with some great other ones, but one of the worst performances under Jurgen Klopp. Results.
I think the Tottenham 4-1 defeat when Dejan Lovren went on an adventure that didn't end well is probably up there in terms of worst performances. And just for context, guys, Nottingham Forest bought 22 players in the summer, 22. So when we talk about unfamiliar combinations in your side, they live in that world every single day at the moment. So yeah, we had some strange positional plays. Curtis Jones playing in a pivot for the first time in his life. I spent 5 hours yesterday doing five or six shows on this. I went away from work feeling absolutely empty, and I'm not charged up and refilled yet. I'm still trying to make some sense of what I saw yesterday, and I think the biggest problem for me yesterday was with 20 minutes to go, there's no desire, there's no willingness to do things in fast forward mode, double the speed. And look, people will say we controlled the game, we controlled the ball by playing it left and right in front of 2 banks of 4 for the best part of an hour with no cutting edge. That's not controlling the game. That's being told by the opposition, and tell you what, you have it because we don't think you can hurt us. And unfortunately, when the final whistle went, that is pretty much what came to pass during the game. So I came away feeling deflated. I've slept on it, hoped to wake up this morning feeling a bit better about things. But the reality is I don't feel great about it because I was pretty disappointed is an understatement with what I saw yesterday. That performance, certain players, which we'll get onto, a certain narrative out there with our fans, which I think is disgusting, which I'm sure we'll talk about as well. All in all, made it a particularly difficult weekend. And I still can't believe we're only 5 points away from 4th place. So what does that tell you?
That makes it worse, Steve. That's the worst part today. Why I probably feel worse than yesterday, maybe, because the results actually went for us, people. And that's what irks me even more. You know, it gets you riled up even more because you think we would have been coulda, shoulda, woulda, but we would have been 2 points behind 4th place team. I believe with a game in hand. I'm not 100% sure on that, guys, but I believe with a game in hand.
No, I think because they made up for a fixture, didn't they? Man United, so they're level now.
But it is what it is. Let's get the mitigating factors, stroke excuses, stroke reasons, causation, whatever you want to call them. Let's get them out the way first, Conroy. Right? So before people start saying, here we go, excuse FC, injuries FC, let's get the actual facts out the way for partly some of the performance and the reason and the end result. On the morning, our talisman has become now, Thiago has an ear infection. Now, anybody who's had an ear infection will tell you it's an absolute pain in the, I was going to say backside, but no, it's a pain in the ear, right? It's a pain in the ear, right? It really, really is bad. And you can't really expect to play high level sport if you've got a bad ear infection. It's just, people are saying, why didn't he play? My God, I don't know why they're saying that. We also know the injury situation, right? We know there's no Jota, there's no Diaz, there's no Nunes. That's 3 of our most potent, probably the most potent, apart from Mohamed Salah, of course, but he's an anomaly, isn't he? 3 of our starting centre forward stroke attackers out. We know this already. We know Thiago's added to the list. We know Matip, Konate. We don't know about Trent. We just think, and feel free, we think Trent is rested as opposed to dropped, or is he dropped? So Conrad, that's the first question you can have. So if Trent is dropped and that's a tactical decision to play James Milner, then that needs to be discussed now. That's the mitigating circumstances out of the way, and the injuries and the excuses or whatever. But when I saw that team, I didn't 100% know the formation, but I kind of expected how they're going to line up. But when I saw that team, my first initial reaction was, what, guys? Apart from Mohamed Salah, I genuinely don't see a goal in this team, and I'm struggling to see where we're going to get goals from. That's how I felt when I saw the team and the lineup and the formation presented.
Yeah, so the first one regarding Milner and Trent, I think you can maybe look at that as taking him back slowly into the team, similar to what he'd done with Robertson during the week. He started Shimika, and then Trent started that game. So you can maybe get away with that. I think there's maybe a bit of both in that, because let's be honest, he's not been very good when he's played. So I think it's maybe just ease him in, take him out of the spotlight a little bit. I'm not against that, because ultimately Milner was actually pretty decent when he played. So either way, off with that one, Grizz, and I don't mind that now, because I feel like he was getting a lot on him, and giving him time to get back into it. I think Klopp mentioned as well, a lot of his subs premeditated regarding the fixtures coming up. So I can understand that one. With regard to the team there, going to be honest, I'm probably the furthest you're going to get away from Excuses FC, because if that's a League Cup fixture, if that's an FA Cup fixture, you expect to win. Like, let's not act like any player who becomes a professional footballer doesn't know how to do patterns of play that lead to a goal. You don't have to be prolific to create goals. I mean, it's the same narrative. Like our young players, like Carvalho, when he comes in, you've seen the potential he's got. He's equivalently against the Championship team where he dominated last year. So there's enough there to get this job done. And I'm not going to have any other thing from my point of view. It's clearly the job should get done. So when I look at that team, Grizz, I think we were in a Champions League final last year. We won the Premier League a couple of years ago. We got 90 points last year. I fully back that if we are this top team that I think we can be, we can deal with that. Like, it literally is a Championship team who don't even have cohesion, who don't even know how to play together, right? And by the way, see some of the players they have bought, right? I've had shockers against us in previous years. So Serge Aurier is a prime example of that. Never attacked him once. So it's like, when I look at that team, I don't look at excuses we can say if this doesn't work out to save our face. I look at that's good enough. That's easily good enough. And maybe we need to look further if that's becoming more issues. But for me, Grizz, I didn't think, we're not going to win this game. I think it's slightly different if you're maybe against let's look at like a Newcastle today, or even West Ham during the week. I can accept, factors of that, because they've got players who can hurt you, like you saw it during the week. But Forest, nah, I'm not having it like that. The guy who scored the winner yesterday, literally, most fans weren't even aware of him when he got sold. Like, they were aware, but they weren't really bothered. It was like, that's good. Get some money in the kitty. It just, to me, it's just not good enough. Like, and I've said that so many times this season. Also, by the way, their two best players with Lingard and Gibbs-White were both very poor yesterday as well. So just to add insult to injury, it's just baffling, to be honest. Like, it's extreme mansion lack of desire. I don't know how we can constantly have this conversation, because it's like we said this a couple of weeks ago, and then when we come against a team as a low block, by the way, stop complaining about teams playing a low block. Their job is not to make it easier for Liverpool. Like, that's not their job. You know what we'll do? We'll play a high press and let you get in behind. That's not their job. The job of the top team who wants to play this football, wants to be the top team, has to break them down. So I'm not having that for a second. If I was playing against Liverpool, I would play a low block, because you know what? Teams have so much success against it, and we just moan after it, but nothing changes. So again, that's another thing that annoyed me yesterday. Like, let's not jump on that narrative, because at the end of the day, it's another game where we've not been able to break down a Championship team who's played a low block. So I just wanted to add that as well, Grizz.
Saj, when you get to the ground and the teams get announced and you see the way they set up, and then surely, and the first thing we always do is have a conversation with our mates around us, and you look at the formation, you think, okay, he's playing there. What do you think of that one? Okay, Carvalho off the left. I wonder if he's going to play in the 10. Is he going to have a floating role? Is Salah going to play wide? When you see them line up and you see the players on the pitch and then you see their lineup, without going into, we're going to talk about individuals later on, but without sort of individuals, but in terms of formation and the tempo of that first, let's say 20 minutes, did you see it on the wall, or was you thinking, no, let's just quieten the crowd down? And what was the crowd like? Because sometimes it's difficult to tell. Was the crowd as raucous as, for example, the FA Cup tie, which was a mental loud crowd? Because we know their crowd can get really up for it. And did we have the game plan and formation to quieten the crowd down? Because that was crucial.
Look, I'll be honest. Number one, when in terms of the crowd, Grizz, it was amazing. I have to give them credit, even though I hate the git, and that obviously with the songs that they sing, it was an intimidating place and it was very loud. Considering there's only 29,000 fans in that stadium, and considering it was a 12:30 kickoff as well. To be fair, because I was happy that it was a 12:30 kickoff, thinking that they're not going to be as up for it. As you know, just say let's say an evening kickoff.
Evening kickoff, yeah.
Why they were up for it. And look, we did nothing in terms of quietening the crowd down. Let's say in terms of the teams, because when the teams got announced and I looked at the teams, and look, for me, one of Thiago and Trent have to start the game. Because there, I've always feel like our creativity comes from them two players. So when the team uses command, there's no Thiago and there's no Trent. I did start to think, okay, number one, where's our creativity going to come from? And number two, where's our pace? Is Salah? If Salah's going to be in the 9, there's no pace in this side. We're gonna be neat and tidy, and we were for the first 25 minutes. Meaning, no, we kept possession. Like Steve mentioned earlier, that's just possession. That's no penetration. We're not going to score a goal. It's just neat and tidy football. And that's all it was. Pass, side to side passing. And it felt as though that's how we were in the first 25. And I can accept that for the first 25 minutes. We're away to Forest. They're a good, they're a raucous, like you mentioned, it's an intimidating place, number one. And number two, they don't like us. There's history there. So we had to quieten the crowd down. Fine, first 25. But all in all, Grizz, when I looked at the lineup, I'm with you. Where are these goals going to come from? More so with Salah in the 9. And I wasn't sure, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't sure what system we were going to play. Was Bobby going to play 9, Salah wide? And another thing was, is it Jones starting over Hendo in that position, which for me was a big shock because I was really expecting Hendo to start and maybe Jones to come up from the left, even though I know he's coming back from, this is his second game sort of thing, and first start of the season. But first 25 minutes, I thought we were okay. No chances created, but I can accept that for the first 25 minutes, let's say.
Yeah, look, Cav, we spoke about it, didn't we? And this super chat is absolutely brilliantly timed and segued into what I wanted to speak about after that initial 20-25 minutes. Yo, what's good? You know my answer this week, not Liverpool. Is Klopp too one-dimension tactically? I think he is. Doesn't attack opposition's weakness much, in my opinion. I don't understand why he kept playing Salah centrally yesterday, seeing how they packed it out. I swear I didn't ask this guy to send in this super chat at this point in the show, because this is exactly where I wanted to go. And this is why I asked Conroy and Saj initially to speak about the first 20 minutes, because I get it. I absolutely get it, lads. We're going away to Forest. They hate us. They're surviving. Sorry, they're trying to survive. This is their reason. This is their ultimate ambition of the last few, however many years it's been, not few, loads of years, to come back in the Premier League and play Liverpool at home. This is their ultimate game for them. They're going to be up for it, no matter how crap they are, how out of form they are. I hate being everyone's momentum. We're like, everyone is using Liverpool as their step ladder to gain momentum. We've done it with United. We've done it with Bournemouth. We've done it with Fulham on the opening day. In the opening 20 minutes, I get what Saj is saying, and the way we played was very containing. We weren't overcommitting because we're scared of the people of transition against us. So therefore, we're cautious. But just like that super chat says, Cav, at what point did you? I don't want to give you my opinion because I want you to give yours. At what point did you personally think, okay, we've settled it down now, we need to start targeting their weaknesses? Because for me, as absolute no coaching badges, a person who just chats shit on a YouTube channel, I could tell you after 20, 25 minutes where their weaknesses were. And that was Nico Williams playing at left back, a right attacking wing back, and Serge Aurier on right back. At what point did you start thinking, okay, we need to implement our game or change our game plan from the original game plan?
Well, the point at which I thought we needed to change it was perhaps after the first 25, 30 minutes, because you are right. The crowd was bouncing, and, you know, it's an away day. It's their cup final, which seems to be the case for everyone that plays Liverpool. You can understand why we started the way we did. And it's something that we've sort of learned to do after, you know, the title winning season, is we don't have to go gung-ho and beat teams in the first 5-10 minutes. We actually can control crowds and build into the game. So I'm totally okay with that, especially if it's away from home. The upsetting thing for me was there was nothing that was particularly created in that first half an hour. And to add to it, we've been worried this season when we've lost the ball and we've been attacked in transition, and teams with energetic midfielders or pacey forwards have sort of bypassed our whole midfield. But even when we lost the ball, Forest were terrible in transition. You know, I recall many of times where Gibbs White picked up the ball.
The reason why I'm so sorry to butt in, but I'm going to butt in today, and butt in when I'm speaking as well. Be rude back to me today as well. Not rude, but you know what I mean. Right, don't be rude. But the reason why they were crap in transition, Cav, is look at their three central midfielders. They picked three of the doggest of dogs of war.
Yeah,
they picked Coyote, however you want to say his name, right? Yates, right? I used to play snooker. I've been brought up playing snooker and pool in Yates. That's the only Yates I know, right? And Freuler, who was, I think, signed from a German team. I think Holmes was bigging him up. And as you said, Lingard, who we know has no pace. He's tricky. He makes runs and he makes TikTok videos, but he hasn't got no pace. This is why they were awful in transition. Why did we not recognize that there's no danger? They haven't got pace per se and that can outdo us. Surely that's the point where Klopp and his coaches are watching from the sidelines and change something.
That's exactly the point. And that's why I say half an hour, because you settle into the game and then you start to read the opposition and understand what their game plan is and what their threats are towards us. And like I say, our biggest weakness is transition and perhaps targeting the side that Trent would usually play. Obviously, it was Milner on this occasion, but they were terrible at it. Gibbs White was picking up the ball and he was trying to find Lingard and he was just booting it out of play every single time. You know, just no quality on the ball whatsoever. You know, every time they tried to run at somebody, they had no trickery, they had no place, they had no link-up play between the midfielders or the forwards. When the ball went into Awini, he didn't really do anything. He's a big lad, but he's got no technical ability. He can't turn anybody. He can't lay it off particularly well. So after half an hour, I was a bit like, this game's different to games that have gone by this season where we've been done on the counter. You know, this is actually a game where you can afford to take more risks. You know, you can afford to go forward and push on a bit more, because I wasn't particularly worried about Forest going into the game. And then after the first half an hour, I definitely wasn't, because I think back to I look at their lineup and I think to Gibbs White, I think, yeah, at Wolves, he was an okay player, doesn't demand a fee. I think back to Lingard, and his best days were probably at West Ham, where he went on loan and he did play well for a spell, but he's not done it for a long time. Awini, he scored a few goals in the Bundesliga, but I mean, these guys shouldn't pose a real threat to us. You know, we do have our first choice defense almost, if you know, of times of old Trent would have been there, but you've got Virgil, you've got Robertson, you've got Gomez. These guys can deal with them guys, you know. So I felt like we needed to change it after half an hour, because we were creating nothing and I recognized there was no threat from Forest. But it didn't change.
It didn't change, Steve. And I want to come to you in terms of, and I want to ask you the first question about formation on that given day. We will go into what we think or what we need to do going forward. But what do you think the game plan was using those players? So we picked basically 321 players, like Curtis is just 21, I think. 321 players and Mohamed Salah and Bobby Firmino. That was our attackers. So let's say assume Fabinho's given the DM role. I know Curtis played in a pivot, but he was supposed to create He was supposed to be the creative force, that's why he was picked ahead of instead of Thiago. What do you think our coach's game plan was in terms of using no pace on the wings, inverted wingers, both cutting in, and the lack of width from our fullbacks? Because I don't remember many times our fullbacks overlapping. I think James Milner done it once and it caused panic and chaos, but I don't remember anything else. So what was the game plan? How were we expected, do you think, to create chances and havoc against Nottingham Forest?
When we didn't have the ball, it's very clearly a 4-4-2. Very clearly that. When we have got the ball, we can cycle through 2 other different formations. We could go through a 4-2-3-1 or even a 4-2-4 with the people we perceived would do the job on the pitch. Touching on the double pivot scenario, which didn't work for me, is every time in the first half Curtis Jones got the ball, Nottingham Forest saw that as an opportunity to pressure him. And what he was doing was giving the ball back to full-backs and centre-backs on the stretch, almost losing it facing his own goal. So right now, this is leads to the conversation we've had with Sam. I think every single team in the Premiership fancies having a go at our centre midfield. And that's exactly what Forest decided to do. When Curtis gets the ball, you pressure him. Grizz, you say you're not a man with a coaching badge. You say you chat shit on a YouTube channel. I do pretty much the same, mate. But I can see from minute one that a former left winger in a youth setup is not the ideal person to have as a left-sided central midfield defensive player in a pivot. Why not play James Milner then and put Trent at right back for the balance of the squad? Not only that, you get the creativity as well. So this is one of the first times I look at Liverpool and I think, what is the game plan? Is there even a game plan, or is this off-the-cuff football? And for me, it became off-the-cuff football. No creativity. All of you guys have alluded to it. No Thiago, no Trent. Salah through the middle, playing behind Bobby. Carvalho on the left. Elliott on the right. Elliott's got no pace, so you've got no quick transition if it breaks down from a corner. You can't put the ball in those areas and expect him to do what Mo Salah did. So for me, in terms of a game plan and a formation, I think because of the bodies we had available, that team largely picked itself, and that's not an excuse. That is just a situation where we find ourselves. But as I said to Sam earlier on said WhatsApp channel, we're not the only team that's playing 3 games a week, and all the teams above us are dealing with the same amount of minutes, the same amount of games, especially those in Europe, and they're not having the same problems we've got. I can't put my finger on what we tried to do, and that's probably what part of the reason why I came away feeling sort of empty and lost with regards to what I'd watched during the day. That was one of the very few times looking at how we tactically set up where I couldn't decipher what it is we'd set out to do on the day. There were some very strange selections, most notably, and I've mentioned it before, the Curtis Jones one. And I said to Chris, who I was doing the show with yesterday, do you remember when Rafa Benitez started to realise things weren't going well? He was making some crazy decisions in terms of team selection. If you'd said to me, go through the Liverpool squad because I need a player who's fit to play as a left-sided central defensive midfielder and a pivot, Curtis Jones would have been the last person I would have given you an option to play him there. So I don't understand that. James Milner should have played there, and Trent should have played right back from the start, because then you solve your creativity problem at the same time. I'm not suggesting I know more than Jurgen Klopp, because clearly I don't. I do what I do. He gets paid for millions of pounds what he does, and he's won the Premier League and the Champions League, and I haven't. But any man who understands football can see that Curtis Jones struggled. Do you know what? I'll take my hat off to him because he was brave and he showed for the ball every single time the centre-backs or the full-backs had the ball. And I can't knock him for that. And I'm not down with the narrative that he was the worst player on the pitch, because if you want to have a look at the worst player on the pitch, have a look at the guy who played alongside. It was absolutely terrible. Have a look at the guy who gave the goal away. It was absolutely terrible. Have a look at the anonymous centre-forward that normally plays on the right wing, who also was didn't contribute at all during the game. So I'm not with this narrative that Curtis Jones should be exiled out of the football team and never be seen anywhere near Liverpool again. But the formation, the game plan, the capacity to play players out massively out of position And I agree with everything Cav said. I was watching it in the first 20 minutes and thinking, when this breaks down, they're dreadful. They've got one decent player when he's on the ball, and that was Gibbs White. He does look a bit of a footballer, but there was no support for him at all. Got to half-time, we went into half-time, and I'm thinking, we've been a bit profligate in front of goal. We had chances to take, we didn't take them. We'll get one in the second half. And then we come out in the second half, and whatever game plan we had goes out the window. And I can't sit here and give you an explanation to how we approached that game in the second half, because I can't articulate it well enough to make any sense of it.
Conroy, I wanted to ask you, explain to me. There's probably a simple answer, but we've gone to 3 of our most fiercest rivals, lads. Check this out. Someone pointed it out to me. Man United away, Everton away, Forest. You know, when I say rivals, like they hate us, right? Away. There's probably more. I can't top of my head think. Our midfields. Just remind yourselves of the midfields that we've played at these teams away. We've thrown Jurgen Klopp through Carvalho alongside Fabinho, and was it Elliott? In a pivot away to Everton.
Yeah, I think it was a 4-3-3, wasn't it? And he had Fabinho deep and then Elliott, Carvalho. Yeah.
He then picked for Man United away Henderson, Milner, Elliott.
Yep.
And then yesterday he's picked Curtis Jones and Fabinho alongside Elliott and Carvalho. 3 of our most fiercest rivals, 3 of the crowds that absolutely fucking hate us. We'll be up for it. They're not cup final for Man United, but you know, I mean, it's still their biggest games for Man United, of course.
Yep.
Everton, we know. Now we know Forest. If you didn't know, people, if you didn't know the history of Nottingham Forest and Liverpool, now you do. Especially with the shit they sang and the way they treated us and whatnot. Jurgen Klopp knows this. Surely he should have known this. Surely we could have picked a more experienced team lineup in all those games. I can't remember the injury situations going into those games right now, but I can't understand those setups and those formations for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine that he's kind of going into the mentality I had at the start, is we'll have enough. Not arrogance, just there's enough in that field to get.
I think there was arrogance in the selection yesterday, and I'll come on to that with Saj.
Yeah, I mean, but I get that. But then, to be fair, if he starts Milner in central mid, as Steve said, I would probably do that as well. But then, you know, at times he's been what's the word? Criticised for doing that, because a lot of fans say Milner shouldn't be playing 90 minutes, and I get Jones shouldn't be in a double pivot. I completely agree with that. For me, I think I think he's went into it thinking we'll have enough there, and as soon as Forest imagine intelligent pressing, imagine this, folks, this season, this thing called intelligent pressing, people actually carry it out. Forest just identified Jones, and just to add to that as well, you mentioned the overlap thing. I think Cav mentioned it yesterday on the post-match. What I noticed was a lot of the times it was like give the ball, especially in the left side, it was like they were always looking for either Carvalho or Jones to make that run in the kind of half space constantly, instead of looking for overlap. Because when you actually look at the heat maps in Milner and Robbo, they're actually quite not overlapping, but they are in the same kind of vicinity. But that seemed to be the aim for the start. And I was the same as you guys once I watched the post-match. I was like, why are they not just focusing on overlapping against like a Aurier or a Williams? Because they could really overload them in that area. So again, I don't know why we didn't realise that early. And instead of trying to get like either it's Carvalho or Jones or someone else in that space, just build up and then push there. I also think as well, once they kind of found out about Jones and the press Jones, I felt like Milner and Rob, I think we're making those runs quite a lot, but it wasn't, I felt like the confidence to play it through kind of left after 40 minutes. Because if you look at the heat maps, the runs were made, it just wasn't happening. But I feel like, yeah, Grizz, in retrospect, when you say that before the game, I do feel we've got enough. But I think you maybe got a point. There is an arrogance towards starting Jones in a double pivot there. In my head, I was thinking like, okay, are we maybe going to go for a 4-3-3 and play Fabinho, Elliott and Jones, which is still a bit, you know, not great. But then it put Salah out to the right a bit more. But in hindsight, the way it worked out, if you were a manager yesterday, everyone, if you were the manager yesterday, would you have taken Jones off at half-time or moved it to put Milner in the centre mid? Would you have made that change? Just want to get everyone's thoughts on that.
Me and Kev gave our opinions yesterday, and I want Saj and Steve to say the move they would have made. Let's go to Saj. Saj, you see that 20 minutes. you settle down and you think to yourself, right, okay, now we need to impose ourselves differently. Because you said we need to impose ourselves to calm it down, get control of the ball, don't give any fucking early goals away. That was our first and foremost aim. What was you wanting to see? Did you see a game plan? Because the only chance we have was Elliot cutting inside and chipping the ball over to Carvalho, and we think, yeah, we want more of that. Carvalho, lovely first touch, should have scored. I can't remember anything else of any note, apart from us giving the ball away time and time again.
You know, if you look at the whole, let's say the first half, we created one chance, and that was the Carvalho chance. You could tell within the first half an hour there had to be a change. Yes, we controlled the game, but like I mentioned earlier, there's no penetration. There was a lack of creativity and a lack of quality, and there was no pace. What I would have done is one thing with Klopp that I've always got an issue with Grizz is that in-game management at times we will never change a system. We could have changed to a 4-3-3. We could have gone Salah, because you could tell Salah was isolated. I would have gone Salah wide. I would have gone to a 4-3-2, taken Salah wide. At least these players then are playing in positions which they're comfortable with, and they're playing in their own actual positions. It would have been easier, or played a double pivot, Hendo in them, push them further forward into a proper 4-2-3-1 rather than a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-4, let's say, because you could tell that we were going to struggle in terms of creativity. Salah out wide would have caused whoever their fullback was problems, and Carvalho or Jones would have done a lot better, because Carvalho was getting pushed off the ball. Let's say physically, he doesn't, he's a kid yet, so he doesn't have the attributes right now. But if Jones went out wide, Hendo into the double pivot, I think that would have worked better than the 4-2-4 that we were trying to play at that time, because we were struggling to create anything. So you more creative player, or brought Trent on, because look at Grizz, there was so many, we actually had options. I'm not going to buy the fact that we didn't have options to change it in game, because there was options on the bench. We could have interchanged our positions as well. So there's so much in terms of, look, Trent could have been bought on.
Crying out. It was crying out for Trent. It was crying out for Trent after half an hour. It was crying out for Trent.
Look, I'm not going to sit here, Grizz, and sugarcoat it. We got it wrong and they got it right. We had to make changes early, and this is the one thing that is my criticism of Klopp, is his in-game management at times. I need to see changes made earlier, because like you all mentioned, it's plain in front of your eyes. You can see that we're struggling to create and that these guys ain't good enough. So why don't we tweak it earlier? Why do we have to wait till the half time or the 60th minute to make tweaks or make changes? Especially in positions which we know that we've got ample able replacements already on the pitch or that can come on.
I think, we touched upon yesterday, didn't we, that we thought if you're going to play that system, you need attacking fullbacks, or at least not fullbacks or players that are going to pass the ball forward. I thought the amount of, as you said, sideways passing was driving me mad. Not only sideways passing, but losing possession. We get into halftime, nothing changed, I believe. We don't make any subs, do we, at halftime? And then it's one of those games like me and you discussed. We know what happens next. We've watched so many games of football in our lives. We know nothing's happening from one angle, from one side. We know what's happening next. And I want you to because I blamed Gomez, and everyone else is saying, oh, you're harsh on Gomez because, okay, he lost the ball, but so much more could have been prevented or could have been done. I've slept on it. 24 hours later, I'm still blaming Gomez.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke after the game, and I kind of laughed because I said for every game this season, whenever we've been done in transition, I've been crying at someone just to take out the player and just cut the attack down at source. And then Gomez made the mistake, but at least he did.
I love that bit. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, well done. Yeah. Well done for fucking up in the first place, not losing, not learning from the first half where he lost it 2-3 times where it could have affected us, but because they're so shit, they didn't have a clue. This time they still didn't have a shit. I still think he could have caught him up if he let him go this time, in fact.
Oh, he would have, yeah.
He would have caught him up, or Virgil would have caught him up, yeah. But yeah, thanks for getting the yellow card this time. But yeah, sorry. I'm fuming.
Yeah.
Because I've backed him up. Because the reason why I'm fuming, because I've backed him up last couple of weeks so much.
But
I've praised him because of what he's gone through.
Yeah, and this is Gomez, though. You know, he comes in and he has a brilliant 1 or 2 games, but then he will have a game where he just makes a mistake and it really gets to his head and it gets on top of him. And he seems to have a bit of a remaining poor game. You know, I think I said this before without going into too much depth about Gomez. I personally feel like for him to really find form and confidence in himself, he's going to have to play so many games after games. And I'm not sure if he'll ever get that at Liverpool now. So he's always going to be going into games where he's got a little bit of doubt in himself, you know, or a bit of anxiety in his head and if he does make one mistake, he just seems to implode. Now, I think that mistake came because he actually gave the ball away quite a few times in that first half. In fairness, I credit him for actually trying to punch the ball past the midfield and into the attackers, because actually that was somebody trying there to make something happen. It just, the passes weren't that good. You know, the idea was good. The execution was poor. And then he made the mistake through dilly-dallying on it. But the goal is a goal that you can concede. You know, every goal is preventable. Don't get me wrong. But when it's a striker that gets a shot and it comes off the post and then he taps it in, you kind of think, okay, you need a little bit of luck there. The one thing I mentioned yesterday, well, I criticised Liverpool for, was it was in the second phase of the attack where they scored. You know, the ball had been put in. Okay, we defended that, but it dropped out to the Forest player, and he just rifled it back in. And at no point did anybody try and get out to him or charge him down to stop that ball coming back in the box. And that's just. I'm not sure if it's arrogance, laziness, or desire, or what. But these are the type of goals we've been conceding all season. If you break them all down, I've certainly always thought, if he could just get out to him there. If he could just put that challenge in, if he could just be on his toes and alert a bit more, he could have prevented that. And it's them fine margins that are just killing us. And that's how I thought the goal come about. You know, it wasn't a catalogue of mistakes. It was just it needed somebody to just get out there and show a bit of desire. I think the only man I've seen in recent weeks actually do that, and he did it in this game as well, is James Milner, whereby he's actually reading danger and chucking his body on the line. But no one did it. You know, no one did it. And it was always going to come, like you say. You can just feel it in these games where you're not playing well. You just know, especially when you're playing teams that are like in the bottom, you know, half of the table, or like a relegation sort of side. You always kind of know this is going to happen. And, you know, what we can't argue, can we? We can't argue. You kind of, if you play that poorly, you kind of expect these things to happen, you know?
Steve, when that goal goes in, I hate to say it. How often do we say about Liverpool that I can't see us scoring and we haven't got the mentality, we're not showing the desire? I very rarely have ever said that to myself. I always think we're so hard to beat. Even when we're playing crap, even when we've got no fluidity, I still think, you know what? The other team's going to have to do something special to still beat us. We'll still do something to get back in the game. I didn't this time, honestly. And that is so disheartening. Personally anyway, but obviously as a fan as well. What did we do to change it, in your opinion? Obviously we bring on Trent. Obviously we push out Curtis Jones. Too late, too little, too late? Because we see it. I don't know, guys. Do we see a difference? We do. We get a few half chances when Trent comes on.
But
yeah, it's a mentality thing, isn't it? You get to a point in the game where you can't reverse what's gone before, and I think we were sort of running in mud right from the way of God. I don't ever think we got some success down through Nico in the first sort of half an hour, as you've already referenced, and quite rightly so. You know, the Virgil van Dijk header, the Bobby header. The Bobby header doesn't go in, by the way, if he heads that on target, because he's got two defenders between him and the goal itself. So he heads it wide, which makes it look like it's a miss, but he doesn't go in if he heads it on target. So we might be being a bit over the top of that one. But while Virgil's trying to head it back across to Bobby to finish it, he's just going to head it towards the far post and he scores. It was very, very frustrating. I think half-time should have been the changes. It should have been Henderson on, and it should have been Trent on it right back. And we should have gone, as Sad said, we should have gone with the three up top. We should have put Salah back out on the right. We should have put left Carvalho on the left for me because he's a little bit more flighty and a bit quicker than Jones is.
But check this out, guys. These are not changes that we're pretending we're tacticals and we've read tactical analysis books all our lives. These are all of us agreed to a man. All of us have unanimously said these are the changes we would have made because it was glaringly obvious. And I don't think anyone disagrees with that.
The thing is, though, when you're he's under pressure, right? Let's not forget this. He looks like a man who's under pressure at the moment.
He does.
He's lost weight. His face looks a bit gaunt. He's not looking like he's enjoying the games of football at the moment. We haven't even got a club doctor. We're recruiting for a club doctor. We sacked the club doctor weeks ago and we still haven't got one. So Thiago had to go to the hospital because nobody could identify an ear infection. Yeah, so that's insane that we find ourselves in that situation. So it kind of needs to sit down, gather your thoughts, and find solutions to our problems. Because at the moment, we might be 5 points away from 4th place, but we don't look like a side that's capable of putting a run together to get there. You go and beat Manchester City the week before, and Conroy's right, man. If you're brave against Manchester City, you get chances. Liverpool have always created chances against Manchester City, and I have to be honest with you, Pep Guardiola's tactics on the day contributed massively to helping us win that game as well, in terms of Rodri and De Bruyne are trying to find space down their right-hand side because Bobby was playing in the position where Rodri wants to play and he stops him playing. You go to Nottingham Forest first and foremost, Nottingham Forest now haven't conceded a goal in 4 games. So you've got to give them credit for changing what was looking like a derby.
I think one penalty they've conceded, yeah
in 4 games.
Yeah.
So that they've stopped themselves turning into the next Derby County where they amass 12 points and we all laugh as they get relegated, and they've sorted certain things out within their game. They're still bottom of the league. We should still be able to pick anybody from that squad and still be able to beat them. I want to see desire. I want to see a willingness to go after the game and win the game and win the ball and get it back and get on an even keel. And then a side that's got into the habit. Because they say winning football matches becomes a habit. Well, so does losing football matches. That also becomes a habit. And we were playing a team that's been particularly poor all season. We never upped the ante. We never increased the tempo. We never pushed hard enough for things. We sat and went left and right, across the front of their back four, front of their midfield, consistently for half an hour without creating anything. And then obviously you get the save from the Virgil van Dijk header because that is a worldy save. You've got to be honest, that's an absolutely brilliant save. But we shouldn't be going to places like Nottingham Forest and scratching around trying to get a draw. We'd all be still frustrated today if we'd got a draw because we'd managed to convert one of those chances. Something isn't right, and I'm wondering whether going so deep into last season and not getting across the line in the 2 big ones gets to a point where these guys cannot raise themselves to compete week in, week out. I don't know what it is. I'm open to suggestions, guys, but I can't understand why we are as we are at the moment.
We're going to hit that in the last segment.
Grizz, can I just add one point on this? All those chances we spoke about, all from set pieces, guys. Oh, I think barring Trent's header, which is Robbo crosses it in, I think that's the only chance from open play. Barring Elliott's great pass to Carvalho, which is just individual brilliance, not patterns of play, not creativity. That worries me more than anything, guys.
But I can make an excuse for that, though, Conroy. I can make an excuse for that. The reason why is because we haven't got our 3 frontline attackers.
Okay, but even when we do, Grizz, so say okay, that's fair enough, right? So surely the top teams of this world, though, will have patterns of play. So anyone who comes into a system will know how to play. I'm not saying you do it as well as others, but there is a recognised way to break low blocks down, who 90% of teams play a low block against us. Like that's common knowledge.
But this was my original question. We haven't got that identity right now because we've quarter of season or wherever, changed the formation. And
even when we had it, Grizz, do you see us cutting teams apart with patterns of play?
No. But we had no. I agree with you. But we could see how we score goals. It was Trent over.
So is every other team. That's why they've nullified it, and now it's up to us to change it. And it doesn't look like we're up for changing it. It doesn't look like we've cracked it, to be honest, because every single chance to rescue that game came from a set piece. Now that worries me more than anything. Like, does that not worry you guys? I know what you're saying, Grizz, but it's like to me, we're talking about top level here. Anybody can just pass the ball in front of a defence. That's not hard. That's
It
like
worries
simple
me.
football.
I'm going to let the others say because I'm still emotional. It worries me for this game. It doesn't worry me long term. It would worry me if we had Jota, Diaz, Nunes, everyone playing, and we were playing like this and relying on set pieces. Then I'd be fucking panicking. But I'm not panicking just for this game.
Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm overreacting.
We still should have done enough. I agree with you. Just a couple of super chats I want to get through before Saj, then over to Saj. Dual Inco says every manager has an expiration date unless you're Alex Ferguson. No, Alex Ferguson expired as well. But Klopp is definitely no Ferguson. Not saying Klopp out, just saying it can go down badly under him as well. Don't be blind. No one's being blind, I don't think. We have, in fact, this show is dedicated probably more so on Klopp's tactics rather than the individuals. I'm not blaming Elliott, Carvalho and Jones on that. I'm blaming Jurgen Klopp for yesterday. So I don't know where you got that notion from. Grizz, what horrible Harris. You bowled well, except that last over, Harris, man. What did you do? Grizz, what a horrible weekend. First Liverpool lose and then Pakistan lose to India in the final ball of the game. Hope you're well, bro. I'm as well as someone can be in that situation, bro. Thank you very much. Yo, what's good, not Liverpool? Assuming Klopp is seeing Jones isn't creating like he'd like Thiago to, why not put Trent right centre midfield in probably the least easiest game we have for creativity and leave Milner right back? Klopp is mind-boggling at times. Hold that thought, Saj, because I'm going to come to you about that. Jesvin says, for the worst players for us were Carvalho and Robbo. They were hiding and barely showed for the ball. Left Jones hung out left on the dry on the left. As a result, Jones had very limited passing options. I'm going to refuse to blame the youngsters for this game, right, Saj? But I want to talk about, because the youngsters came in. They've got their whole careers ahead of them. If they perform, they'll have a career at Liverpool. If they don't, they won't. Simple as. Yeah. But I'm talking about the established players that we know have got a career here. We don't want them gone, but we need to start talking about them. First and foremost, was Trent dropped, in your humble opinion? Is Trent dropped? And B, is there a case of him to be playing in a further advanced position? Because there's a lot of calls for it now. And I'm not going to give you C. I think those two, A and B, are enough for now.
You know, in terms of Trent, I think he was taken out of the side. He had that minor injury. I think he was taken out of the side, get him out of the limelight. Obviously, with everything that's been going on with the England setup and all that sort of. And let's face the music, he's been poor at Liverpool. So look, and I'm all for that. I don't have no issue. I'm actually glad took him out of the limelight, and he'll hopefully come back a better player. But in terms of when you look at our side now, we look disjointed in every aspect, Grizz. So we're going to be, in a way, I think why Klopp is making these changes is because we don't know what's going on. I don't think we know what the issue is because we've got issues from the defense, from the midfield, and going forward. We don't have no patterns of play. So do I want to see Trent in an advanced position? In an ideal world, no. I'll be honest, I want him to stay at right back. That's his position for me. But with the players that we've got out, would I have tried him there? Grizz, desperation says yes. Because for me, we don't have creativity, especially when these players, when you've got the Nunes, Jotas, and the main players, Diaz, are all out. At least we've got a player who can sort of play that position because I can't see any creativity right now. And which is, and I actually agree with Conrad to an extent where he's saying he's worried. And Conrad, I don't think you're over-exaggerating, mate, because I'll tell you why. I've watched this Liverpool side, and, it's the first time where, I've been going, Grizz, I've been going to home and away for a long time, Grizz. On the way up this time, this was the first Liverpool game where I felt sorry for myself. I've never actually felt sorry for myself watching Liverpool all these years. I actually felt sorry for myself thinking, did I go and watch that rubbish? Because it hurt. That game actually hurt because we were disgusting. And, as Steve was right as well, I know people say the fight and all of that, but there is a lack of fight. I feel as though at times we just look lost. We just look lost in so many different aspects of this game. And that City game, that was, let's not just say City. City is a team that comes at us. I want to see is how are we going to break down low blocks because that's the standard formation. 90% of the sides are going to play against us. And I do, you mentioned Trent. I want to see Trent in a slightly advanced position now because we've got so many other players out, and because he's been off form, maybe it will give us, an attack, some sort of creativity on that side, because we're lacking creativity, especially when Thiago's not playing.
Cav, I agree with pretty much everything he said, except I want to disagree with one aspect, and I want your opinion on it. I don't think it's a lack of hunger. I think a lot of our players, and I'm going to start naming them and get your opinion on them, have been run ragged into the ground. I don't think they're physically up for it. I don't think they can physically do it. And I'm willing to put my neck on the line and name names. I don't think Fabinho will ever be the same Fabinho again. I'm saying it. We know Henderson won't be. We know Milner won't be. I said controversially a few weeks, I don't think Virgil van Dijk will reach the levels that he reached. Now, that doesn't mean sell Van Dijk, get rid of Van Dijk. Bobby Firmino, as amazing and great he's been as this season, I don't see him. That's 4 or 5 players down the spine of our team I don't think have got the physical capabilities of playing the same way that we played in 2019, for example. I genuinely believe that. I don't think it's a hunger and desire thing. There may be incidents, it may come across as hunger and desire. I just don't think they're Fabinho. I can't hold him much longer. Fabinho, for me, is looking way past it now, Cav. I need to have a serious conversation about Fabinho. And I think, guys, I don't know what you guys think, and I think Klopp and the coaches knew this because of our chase for Tchouaméni. That is the biggest indicator for me. Our chase for Tchouaméni suggests even they know there's a decline in Fabinho.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll use Fabinho as the example to sort of make the point of what I think is going wrong. And I think it's the fact that the players are letting themselves down and letting Klopp down. And I also think Klopp and his coaching team are letting the players down in some respects because the players aren't playing well. And I explained yesterday, for me personally, I think it's because, look, there's only so many times you can go to the same party and it not get boring. Do you know what I mean? And I think for these players, they've been at Liverpool a long time now. You know, this is the biggest club they've been at in their careers for a lot of these guys.
Yeah,
they've failed it.
Barring Thiago, it is.
Yeah.
It's the biggest club they've been at. Yeah, highest level.
So this is the height for them. This is the height for them. But they've achieved the lows of being here and they've achieved the highs. And I feel like this season there needed to be a freshness, whether that be players coming in, and we've all spoke about the recruitment in the summer, so we won't go on about that, or a change of style, a change of tactics, a new voice. You know, they need something to create. We talk about the next team of next Klopp 2.0 team, say, but they just needed a freshness, a new motivation, something new to work towards and drive towards, because they're fighting the same battle. They want to win the league. They're still fighting against Man City. You know, they need something else to believe in. And I feel like with somebody like Fabinho, we know, like you say, we wanted Tchouaméni, another player. So we recognize that perhaps he's not the player he was a few years ago, but we didn't sign that player. So we have to play Fabinho. But what we're not doing is we're not playing a system that then supports him. So we're actually hanging him out to dry in a lot of games. You know, he's actually the man that's trying to defend 3 or 4 people in the midfield because he's not got the support around him. And I think it just epitomizes us as a whole at the minute. And this game against Forest, sort of, with all the injuries, yeah, that is an excuse and it's a valid one. But the lack of reaction from the coaching team. Now, don't get me wrong. It must be very difficult for Klopp because he finds out in the morning of the game that he's losing one of his biggest players. Nunes was touch and go, you know. It said if the game was played today, he might have been able to play minutes. So it's very difficult to react. But there seems to be no reaction. And that's the worrying thing. And when Conroy says he's worried about playing teams with the low block, and you said long-term you're not worried about it. Well, actually, I am, because I've seen Liverpool come up against low blocks time after time and struggle. Sometimes we get the results and sometimes we don't. But we do struggle in every game against a low block. So we've got all these things being thrown into the mix. You know, lack of investment, playing the same players. I personally think that they want to, of course, win things, but I don't think their legs can do it. But I think their minds are so tired. Their minds are so tired through what they've been through for the past few years. And then you add to that Klopp isn't changing anything to give them sort of new hope, you know, facilitate some of their flaws. And you end up with an inconsistent season, which is exactly what we're getting. And it's worrying because you kind of think what's going to change it. The one player you didn't, the few players you didn't want to lose was Diaz and Jota, because that's actually what they bring to this team. They bring newness, they bring excitement, they bring a freshness.
The freshness.
You know, and with them being out, the only bit of freshness and enthusiasm you have in your squad is being provided by young lads. But unfortunately, young lads don't have the quality to get you results in this tough league. So there's a lot going wrong at the minute. Fabinho just epitomizes it for me. And I get frustrated in the game watching him because I'm seeing people bypass him, like Coyote at the weekend or yesterday, bypassed him with.
We made him look like Yaya Toure, people. We made him look like Yaya Toure yesterday. Yeah,
but he's not. The first few games of the season, he was being bypassed in the press, and I thought, okay, you need to be smarter there. You need to take the man out, and you need to get back. You need to react. You're our defensive midfielder. You're the guy that's meant to be stopping this, right? And then you go into the games now, and when he's in position, people are going around him like he's not even there. At times, he's like defending like this.
He's like
putting his hands up.
Have you seen him do that?
Yeah. And then I'm like,
have you seen him do that this season?
Exactly. So you say he's not stopping. He's not defending in the press. He's not defending when he's deep. People are going around him. His passing's poor. I think in one of the games, I'm not sure if it was against Forest. I think it was the game beforehand. I seen a transition where we were being attacked, and I watched him, you know, running as the camera was panning. The ball was getting further away from him, and Virgil overtook him in a run. And I'm just thinking, I'm looking at him as a player, thinking, you're actually offering us nothing at this stage in this game. The only thing you're doing is being a body on the pitch, which gets you one credit at the minute. But other than that, he's not doing anything in the game. You know, every side of his game is pretty flawed at the minute. And it hurts me to say, because I watched a compilation of him a few years back earlier on today, and he was such a fabulous player. And he's just lost. He seems to have lost it almost at all.
I actually named him Fabulous cringely in his early days when he joined, you know, but we all do that, right? I started calling him Fabulous, and, you know, now I'm here actually not slandering him. I'm just giving my opinion on him, what I've seen since thing. But Steve, this is not going to go away, and this is nothing that we can change right now, because we've got him and we've got Henderson, who is in the same boat, can't do the physical things that he done. At our height, guys, let's break it down. When we were at our best, when we won the Premier League, when we won the Champions League, our midfield consisted of a younger Fabinho, a peak Henderson in terms of fitness, and a peak Gini Wijnaldum. Since we've tried to change the makeup of that midfield or the composition of that midfield in terms of technicality as well, we actually haven't won the big ones. I know we nearly won everything last season, but we haven't. So, Steve, going forward now, we've got Fabinho, we've got Henderson, and we've got a very unreliable Thiago. Add to that now, we've got the returning Naby Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, and Curtis Jones. These are the 6 midfielders, I think, that we've got. What's your thinking, and what do you think the coach's thinking is? How do we take this into the rest of the season now? Because we're hoping Naby Keita and Ox remain fit first and foremost, and we've got a young Curtis Jones back as well. What's the plan here? Because I don't know, bro. Are we changing back to the 4-3-3 now? Because now we've got no attackers. Wait, hold on. Check this out, though. Let me put this in your thought, because this might affect the way you think and answer. Because now we've got no attackers, lad. Now we've got only Bobby, Salah. Who's the other attacker we've got fit? Nunes. Nunes will be fit. So now we've only got 3 players to play in a forward position every 3 days for the next 4 or 5 weeks. Yet we've got 6 midfield options.
It's going to be a 4-4-2, mate. That's what it's going to be. And it'll be Salah and whoever else through the centre. And it'll be Harvey right, Carvalho left. And we'll be relying on Thiago getting over his ear infection with antibiotics for the Ajax game midweek. And it'll be whoever's in the best shape out of Fabinho and Henderson. And that's an indictment on where we are right now in terms of injuries. look, you can't legislate for. We shake our head in disbelief, and with good reason, but you can't legislate for impact injuries to Diaz for what looks like an innocuous jump for a ball. You come down, land awkwardly, and you absolutely destroy your calf like Jota has. I think that one's a lot worse than we're being told, by the way, as well. I don't think that's good at all. I asked you guys a question when the transfer window was closing in the summer and we'd gone through and not signed anyone. Would you use the money that's earmarked for Jude Bellingham to go and buy 2 centre midfielders in January and forsake that transfer? I don't think we've a choice. That's where we're at. I don't think we've a choice to not spend on a centre midfielder, if not 2, in January. Because if we carry on as we are, we'll be playing. There's a grave danger of us getting any reasonably good European football next season, because right now teams fancy playing us in the centre of the park. And you alluded to the WhatsApp group before. There's some of our closest friends, who I respect their opinions, don't think there's a problem in the midfield. But you only have to look at what's been going on in recent weeks to clearly identify there is. Fabinho has played 186 games for Liverpool. He looks like he's played 11,186 games for Liverpool. There's just nothing in the tank at the moment. I said it on at work. We are dead in the middle of the park. We're absolutely dead. If you've got pace, you've got power, you've got mobility. You look at Jordan Henderson, you look at Fabinho, and you go, they've had really, really good careers, because they have. And you were right when you said our best midfield was the 3 guys that you mentioned. But our midfield is the most intense midfield any footballer's ever going to play in. And it does so much more work than most of your midfields. Somebody said to me in the last 24 hours, Manchester City's style is much more energy conserving than Liverpool's. And that's absolutely correct. It is.
Oh, we've tried to do that. We've tried to do that.
Grizz, you know what happens if you keep going to the well? Eventually it dries up. And you go and you try and do this with Fabinho, and you go and try and do this with Henderson. And I'm not knocking them, because in Jordan Henderson, he will go down as one of the greatest captains Liverpool Football Club has ever had. And he may do something similar to James Milner in the twilight of his career, where we use him sparingly, and that would be fine. I have no issue with that. But you're asking him to compete with 23-year-old men who are athletes. They're physically strong. They haven't had that injury he had, and I keep harping on about this, and I'm sorry if you keep hearing it, but that injury he had 18 months ago was a shocker. If you've seen the still where that muscle in his leg gave way as he's running with the ball, that's a serious injury, and that will affect your mobility and your ability to be the person you was before. It was remiss of us to miss it. We all know that to a man, to not approach it and do something about it in the transfer window. If we're going to go into the rest of the season balancing a midfield 2 between 3 injury-prone players, who 2 of them look like they're spent in terms of physicality, then it's going to be a long, long season for us, and we'll have many more days like we had at the weekend, because teams are now looking at Liverpool saying, give you, for instance, I was asked what would I do if I was Nottingham Forest manager, having seen Liverpool's team. And I said for the first 20 minutes, I'd flood the centre midfield and I'd run Fabinho and Curtis Jones ragged. I'd apply all the pressure in the world on those 2 guys, because it will break. But for the width of a post, we should have lost that game 2-0. When they had
if it wasn't for Alisson, we would have lost it worse. Yeah.
Well, 100%. Imagine if we sat here having... It's not inconceivable if he doesn't make the 2 saves he makes, especially the one Courtois-esque that goes off the bicep and over the crossbar. Forest could have scored 4 goals. I wouldn't have come on the show tonight if we'd lost 4-0, because I would have refused to put my name on it, because I just wouldn't deal with the conversation. I'm being honest with you. You think you're hard now, mate. If we'd lost 4-0, you would be savage.
I'm well hard.
I'm well hard, mate.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done it. I just said, guys, I'm not available. Yeah. But the point I'm trying to make is, if we're going to go for the rest of the season, balancing our season on that midfield, I have the same concerns that the other guys have.
Can I just add, to add to that, just a quick point what Steve said. I was listening to a podcast a couple of weeks ago, actually, and it kind of hit home. see if we don't, you talk about Jude Bellingham, I think we just need to forget about that right now, guys. See if we don't get in the Champions League, right? You better go back 5 years, because I am telling you right now, I think a lot of the fans, we're forgetting how difficult it was to get in that top 4 the first time. And I know it is like one of these things. It does take, everything goes back, because if you want players, you're going to have to pay more money because you can't offer Champions League football. And yes, conglomerates, Manchester United, you've seen over the years, they've paid. I mean, look at the wages some of the players they had to pay to get them to come in the Europa League. So forget Jude Bellingham, just in general, of where the steps of the club to stay on, I wouldn't say we're on our perch now, but to stay within this vicinity. I mean, you all remember Wijnaldum's goal, Middlesbrough at Anfield, the last day of the season. We win, I think, 3-0, 4-0 that day. Massive moment. I think that's very important. So not just on the Jude Bellingham stuff. For me, the Champions League is very important, because if we don't get it, he's not coming. But forget about him individually. The actual progression of where we can be, it can take a huge, huge knock. And that can be very difficult. If you see the teams around us right now, and how quickly they've managed to keep up that mark, not near City, but in the area we were in, and how fast we've fallen, that should be worrying. But what I would say, and I wanted to add to this, Steve, and I'll get your thoughts, Steve, and everyone's as well. Do you think, though, and I know we talk about this all the time, and I'm not getting a transfer thing, but do you think the performances and the fact we've not won an away game this season will exacerbate the action in January, or will force the hand of what should have been done already? Do you think... Because now it seems glaringly obvious that our midfield is a bit all over the place now, and a lot of reconstruction work needs done. So I just wanted to get your take on that. Do you think that may have helped us, though? Because
if you look at away games, you look at a league table of away game fixtures and the points so far this season, we're 14th and Aston Villa are 15th. That tells you all you need to know, that we don't have the confidence to go and win games away from home, because teams are coming out and saying it's Liverpool and we can get it their midfield. That's a million miles away from where we were. And every point you've just made, Conroy, is 100% correct. We could suffer a massive setback in terms of where we go. What's the short to medium term plan? How does that change? What does it look like in the transfer window? We should be at a position where there's 2 top tables, and we're at one top table. All of our rivals are at the other top table, and we're going to go and raid that other top table for their best players. That's where we should be. That's where we should be able to sign our players from. The reality is, if the season carries on as it is and we don't get the targets that we want, we might be sat at the top table in terms of the name and the history of the football club, but we're dropping back a couple of levels to sign players, and we'll be looking for the next player we can turn into prime Jordan Henderson, the next player we can turn into prime Gini Wijnaldum, without going buying ready-made bespoke packages off a shelf like Jude Bellingham. That is a concern I have too.
We're very close to wrapping up, and I'm going to ask for guys to make some hard decisions with the questions I'm going to ask them. But there's 700 of you in here, and the likes is not even 300. Like, as if you're not enjoying this show. Like, you wouldn't be here if you wasn't enjoying it. Otherwise, you're sad. If you just sat there not enjoying it and you've remained here. So smash a like, please. Why don't you? It helps with the algorithms. I've learned how to say that word. I still don't know how to spell it, but I know how to say it. Spelling is the next stage. Saj, to bring players in, to reinforce the squad, to replenish the squad, to revitalize the squad, we know Klopp has to make some hard decisions along with his recruitment team. I've just mentioned a few players to you in terms of, I'm going to mention it. I'm going to mention Fabinho, Henderson, we know, Ox, Naby, Curtis Jones, 5 players that we need to make. 6, Bobby Firmino. For Liverpool 0.20, we can't just bring in players and keep these as well. Because if you're looking at, realistically, I think we all agree in the next 2 windows, we need 3 to 5 starting players, not squad fillers. We need 3 to 5, Saj, 3 to 5. And I'm not saying in 3 to 5 in one window, 3 to 5 in one window. No, between the 2 windows, summer and January, 3 to 5 players. He needs to make some hard decisions. I've asked the question before, and I'm going to ask you because I haven't had your opinion on it. Klopp hasn't, to me, hasn't got an experience or haven't shown me that he's able to make hard decisions like these, where his loyal soldiers, his loyal people, all these great players that have enabled him to reach Liverpool to the top, I don't think he's shown evidence that he's got this ability to get rid of them and bring in, but he has to. What are you doing with those 6 players if you're Jurgen Klopp that I've mentioned? You can go through them individually if you want.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you guys. You know, some of the players that you've mentioned, they're washed. And I'm going to be brilliant and say exactly how it is. I've watched Fabinho now for 18 months, and I loved Fabinho. He was I called him our general, our midfield general, and he was everything that we needed. And I can accept that he doesn't get the help. He doesn't get the help. But for the last 18 months, deep down, guys, we know how good Fabinho has been. Yes, he's had a few games where he's been fantastic, but the form deep down hasn't been there. And you've mentioned it, Pastor, in your pod, in one of your pods, that he's got away with it. And he truly has got away with it. There's big issue that we've got now is because there's so many of them that are going. We can't. And with all due respect, can you see FSG now doing this? I can't. If it was to me, or half the Kiters and all these guys, they're going to be gone in the summer anyway. Let's face the music. So the Kiters, Milner's going to be gone. Kiters going to be gone. Hendo's probably got a year. Thiago's got a year after this year. You know, so there's a decision in the summer. We've got a decision on Thiago. Forget anything else, mate.
Yeah.
Decision on Thiago that we need because he's got a year left. There's a decision on Verge. I think Verge's contract's up in a year or two.
2 years left.
Yeah, 2 years left. So there's a lot of decisions that this club's gonna have to make for the 2.0. Let's say so. Klopp has to show ruthlessness. The great managers of the past, Fergie was brilliant. The biggest issue that we've got now is because we've let all these players run till like now they're in their 30s. We don't have the replacements that are in their prime. We've got kids. We've got 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, and that we can't. We should have done this planning. Should have been done 2 years ago. We should have bought in. I can accept, the Kiter. He's one player who's at that prime sort of level who should have been starting right now. And
we gave him the benefit of the doubt because of his age.
Yeah, so he was one, right, that could have stayed. But in terms of planning, we should have planned this a long time ago because this was always going to happen. But the truth is, Klopp has to become a lot more ruthless. Some of these players are going to, for me personally, Grizz, I think they're all going to be going, mate.
I'm going to ask you I'm going to ask you a couple of players each. Bobby Firmino.
I think he's gone. He's gone.
You want to keep him?
No, he's gone. He's going to be gone in the thing. I can't see you giving him a new contract. I think we will get rid.
Cav.
I think he's going to want another challenge as well. I know people can say that, he scored the goals this season and look, there's a World Cup and all that sort of thing, but he's been...
This is where we get stuck.
I don't want to give another contract for another 2 or 3 years of a contract to somebody who, for me personally, is giving me 3 months over the last 2 years. I'm sorry, I can't buy that. I'm not going with 3 months. I'm going with the 2 years, personally.
Saj is being ruthless. This is what I want to see. Cav, are you as ruthless as Saj, or are you seeing one last swan songs for any of those players I've mentioned? Now, obviously, Fabinho is going to be controversial because everyone's going to say, Grizz, what are you talking about, Fabinho? But I'm at that stage, guys. I'm at that stage where I want Fabinho to be Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
I want the new Fabinho already. Am I being spoiled, little brat?
No, I don't think so, and I totally agree with Saj. Like it hurts to say because these players have given us so much, and we really don't want it to come across when we say we won't give them new contracts or want to see them go. We don't want it to come across as that we don't respect what they've done for us as a club, because it's totally not that at all.
Especially on my channel,
yeah. But we can't watch our club, keep falling down the pecking order and not stay at the very top because of this. We have to, unfortunately, let these guys go to move forward. We've got to evolve. We've got to have new players in the squad. And to do that, we have to let the guys go that have been great for us, but unfortunately aren't doing it for us now and won't do it in the immediate future. So I think Firmino is the one that hurts me the most because he's always been here. He was here before Klopp. But as I said yesterday, I think he's had a bit of a purple patch in his career, but I don't think he's a player that we can rely on in the future to get goals and assists and what have you. So unfortunately, I would let him go on to new things. Fabinho is a funny one, and he's the only one out of the names you've just mentioned there where I'm like, had we have got a player like Tchouaméni and he was our first choice and Fabinho was the backup, I would be okay with that. Because I feel like Fabinho, well rested, coming into the odd game, every other game, probably could do something. He's 29. He turned 29 today, I think, wasn't it? So it's not even. It's not. He's probably still got another 6 years of playing. It's crazy. A man of his experience, playing in different leagues and obviously winning all that he's won. You kind of expect him to go into his like a bit like Casemiro at the minute, if you like. That kind of ilk where he's probably not got the legs, but you still expect him to do a job in that position. He just needs to be the second choice, unfortunately. He's the only one I would keep hold of. And the others, I'm not even going to talk about Keita because he's not even worth the time for me. Ox, I feel sorry for, but I'm a bit like, yeah, cool, shake hands, let's move on. Forget, there's no point having the conversation anymore. Like, honestly, it's dragging us down. Let's move on with these guys and let's start with, new people coming in.
Apparently we've got a fake mod who's putting people in timeouts. Neverman's saying it's not him, people, so stop stressing him out. What I'll do, I'll unblock all the mods and start it all over again, so we'll sort that out. Sorry, guys. But no one block anyone unless it's personal abuse, racist abuse, anything like that. Opinions are all allowed. Just no abuse is allowed of any form whatsoever. Quick super chat before I ask Steve to make some final decisions on the squad setup. 1975 Jamrock says, Klopp wanted to keep Ginny. He asked Mane to stay and extra year, leaving him on 1 year contract. He wanted Bobby to stay. He wanted Hendo to get his long extension. I think he's suggesting Klopp has loyalty issues in terms of, he's very loyal. I don't believe all of those, to be honest with you. I don't think he particularly wanted Ginny to stay. He would have made Ginny stay. But there is issues, there is decisions to be made, and they have to be made in the next 2 windows without a shadow of a doubt. Otherwise, like we've discussed, it is a downward spiral, right, Steve? What are you doing with those 6 players that I've mentioned? I mentioned Fabinho, I've mentioned Bobby, Fabinho, Bobby, Naby, Ox, Hendo.
Naby and Ox are really, really easy. They will move on. How Naby can be asking for assurances about game time when he's not even available for game time is absolutely baffling and would send out the wrong signal to everybody on the planet if we went down that route. And with the guys saying that Fabinho should be Henderson in terms of stay at the club at 29, there's still a lot to offer. I'm also in agreement with Saj, and I've said this many, many times in our conversations, that a 6 is only as good as the guys playing either side of him, and he has been hung out to dry this season. He has had a lack of quality alongside him, and it has been like the Alamo at times where he's looked up and they're all running towards him and he doesn't know what to do. So I'm not ready to throw the towel in on him yet. Henderson should be the new Milner. Milner should move on and go and stay with the club and do coaching, or go and play a year somewhere else and then come back into the coaching setup within the football club. And Bobby should go and have a swan song for one of the Brazilian sides and enjoy himself. My only worry with that is that's an awful lot of recruitment. That's an awful lot of money, and it really isn't our business model. So I think whilst that's what you want, not so sure you'll get it. I've got a feeling Bobby will get an extension off the back of this season. And I think of those, the only 2 we'll lose will be the guys who are up for free transfers in the summer, purely because we don't do Championship Manager and go and buy 5 players in the summer. We've never done it. We're not about to do it now.
I disagree. I think we will do it, and we have to do it, and we've got no choice to do it. I think we will play Championship Manager for the first time in a long time because of the mistakes we've made, and I think we will rectify it. But of course, only time will tell. We have to rectify it. Otherwise, Conroy...
Europa League, Europa Conference. This will happen. And
as
I'm
simple
telling
as
you,
that. No. There's no ifs and buts about it, guys. There's no ifs and buts about it. If we do not purchase 3 to 5 players in the next 2 windows, first and foremost, I absolutely believe we will. But if we don't, we're talking Man United's levels of falling down, because this squad's on its feet. I truly believe that.
Agree. Massively agree. But Grizz, do you think, we're not going to talk about it today and to everyone as well, and we'll go into the details more. I think it'll be interesting to look at the injury record when we get to maybe like this first 3 quarters to the season as well, because we're only in October right now, and as Steve says, there's a mixture of injuries. I'm not saying they're all, but there might all be, individual, but some there may be a pattern when we get 3 quarters in the season as well, and that might be something we'll talk about in the future as well.
Have we got our doctor yet, Conrad?
No.
Interviewing them now, apparently, as Steve was saying earlier.
This actually shows how far we are, doesn't it, Nick? We don't. This is another big issue that we've got. These muscle injuries that we receive. How many injuries have we had over the last year and a half of these muscle injuries? It's becoming a bit of a joke in terms of that, and not having a doctor there. That is a big issue, and that just goes to show how, in terms of the club, the setup right now, something's not right.
That probably makes sense, Saj. That's about as good contingency as they've got continuity. So we can't get a player in for it. How do you expect us to get a doctor in? So
Saj, when you're winning, right? All those little niggles that you feel, you don't feel them.
Yeah.
When you're under pressure and you're losing, and there's a club physio who can get you a few games off because things aren't going well, that's human nature. That's human nature that some people haven't the stomach for the fight. That's just life. That happens in every walk of life.
This is the more of a reason why we need to get rid. Because I know we don't agree with that. It's not our business model of going and spending. Like Grizz said, we do not have a choice. The owners and stuff, Grizz, they have to back us now. We're really a real crossroad now where we really need the backing come Jan or in the summer. It has to start in Jan, because I genuinely believe we need 2 midfielders minimum, because 3 ain't coming in the summer, especially when you've got 3 leaving. So
we might get Caicedo in January. That's my feeling. I don't think there'll be much more than that.
I think it's a bare minimum.
It's
a bare minimum, 3 to 5. And I think they're forced into doing this. I agree. It's going to be reluctantly. But not only FSG, guys, and obviously we're coming to the end of the show now, so we don't want to start a whole new debate about. It's got to be Klopp as well. He's got to work. He's got to work in tandem. It always is. When we talk about glory, we talk about it as a collective. When we talk about the negatives and the downside, it's always as a collective. Final super chat of the night from Dan Watson. He says, we went from McFred to Casemiro and Eriksen, which is levels above Eriksen was a free. Surely if your owners are serious, they have to spend. This is a Man United fan saying that. And he's spot on. Look at the difference Casemiro and Eriksen have made to the Man United midfield. We hate saying it.
They didn't have to replace much. Let's be honest, McFred. Come on.
They didn't, but I'm going to be very honest with you. We haven't got much to replace now. That's why I disagreed with Sam. I'm going to get him on, and I don't want to speak about our conversation without Sam being able to represent himself, be representative of himself. But that line about who's out there, I'm not having it. I'm not having it anymore. Who's out there? There is hundreds out there right now, because we've got pension-like players walking around right now, and they are. I'm not disrespecting them for what they've done, but I'm allowed to criticize them for what they're doing right now. Never would I disrespect for their achievements and the glory that they've brought and the enjoyment they've brought. But right now, they're a shadow and pale shadow of themselves. Guys, if there's anything else, jump in. Otherwise, we're going to call it a night now, I think.
I was just going to raise the point off the back of the Man United fan. I think the Man United recent, good performances and results, it kind of shows that you're never too far away from falling off or rising up again. Just if we could get at least 2 players in this midfield. You look at the guys that we've got around.
It's not a disaster. Sorry, Kev.
Exactly.
We're only 2-3 players away of still being.
Exactly.
Who's laying one midfielder in 4 years? This is the problem.
We just need we need support in the transfer market, and we won't be far off being back at our best. But we also need Klopp to learn. I need Klopp to learn. I need to see him doing things a bit differently. I understand he's great at building a perfect team, but when that team starts being chipped away at, I need to see that the levels aren't here and here. There needs to be something in between, and he's really got a job on his hands for the last few games before the World Cup, and a couple before we come back, before we can actually sign anybody. It all, for me, every game we've gone into this week, we've always had a team, regardless of the injuries, that have been good enough to win the game. And, you know, we've had disappointing results. And a large part of that for me has been the coaching team, the tactics, and Klopp just not reacting as he perhaps should. So I think it seems doom and gloom now, but you can get back up there with a short bit of time and a bit of investment.
I genuinely think it's doom and gloom just for now. I'm not saying it's doom and gloom. It's very fixable. And I believe we will fix it. I'm not sat here saying this is it. I haven't thrown my toys out of the pram and saying this is it, we're fucked. We had our glory, we won our one league, we won our one Champions League, and that's it. I genuinely think we will go again. We will 100% go again. And we would have gone again if we bought a couple of midfielders this summer. We would have gone again, 100%. And I still believe we will. But it's just doom and gloom right now. It's just for temporary. Just like this storm I'm having is temporary. I don't know if you guys can hear it. I'm in the conservatory. Yeah, it's absolutely pissing it down. Just sums up my weekend right now. But I feel better that I've spoken to some friends, you know, and family. Love you all. Thank you very much for coming on. Of course, the usual suspects, thank you. But a special thank you to Saj. Thank you very much for coming on. Let the people know, because you have actually got a channel of your own. So let the people, there's 700 people in there, let them know where they need to go and subscribe.
Yeah, guys, look, we set up a channel this year. It's called Born and Red, a YouTube channel. So I'd appreciate you guys if you can go onto the YouTube channel, type in Born and Red, and if you can all subscribe, I'd appreciate it, man. And thanks Grizz and everybody else for having me on. I appreciate it. It's always good to chat to you guys on here, man. It's a good laugh. We have a good laugh and a joke. But it's all just love for the Reds, isn't it?
Absolutely, guys. Type in Born and Red, and that should come up.
Yeah, top
Make
show.
sure you go and subscribe.
Brilliant.
Andy says hi from Melbourne, Australia. Liverpool fan, angry video, and goodbye for now. And Jürgen Klopp need to L. And Ethan Mapua, you know, scrambled message there, but it is what it is. Grizz, speak on my country, South African cricket. Good luck, man. Good luck. Everyone's team. Good luck. Good luck to everyone. When Pakistan win, I'm going to be a Pakistan supporter. When England win, I'm going to be an England supporter. I'm going to be a glory hunter. I've got the England top and the Pakistan top. I've got both of them. I'll wear whatever. I'm shameless like that. But one football club that I will only support is Liverpool. And that's what we're here for. People, there's still 600 of you. But many of you haven't liked the stream for whatever reason. Friends, foes, enemies, like the stream on your way out. We'll be back for so much content this week. Stay tuned to the community tab and we'll let you know. This has been Redfellas on your Sunday night. Don't forget to go and check out our sponsors, our channel sponsors, futcard.com for all your FUT cards, banners, prints, flags, you name it. Type in Redfellas and you'll get 15% discount. All the best. Take care.